Blackburn George. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. How are you doing, my friend George?
I'm doing fine, thank you very much.
I decided to tone down the light on my side because I was told by someone that my lighting is so much better than you guys. So I want to crowd the people
Or
who are
worse.
that I have not aged. My laptop is not less than it was before. George, all fun and jokes aside, well, lots have happened. Fallout of Arsenal Manchester City. Some of it not related. And one of them is the demonization, or I guess I can't find another word right off the top of my head, but demonization of Granit Xhaka was one of them, which I was amazed at. Actually, the refs were the center of attention for in the immediate aftermath. Atwell and I don't know who was doing the VAR, but the whole lot of them, as you said before you left, very quickly, you said it was absolutely corrupt. But all of a sudden, the narrative changed, especially on Twitter. And something struck me, George. Struck me on Twitter, and I'm going to read it back to you. I hope you can still see me. You, on January 3rd, I don't know whatever day that was, said, and I'm going to quote for the audience, Xhaka plays more than anyone, passes the ball more often, more forward, fights when teams try to bully us, and covers for his mistakes when his teammates make. I can't for the life of me think why he might be involved in more mistakes. And George, you got 91 likes and 16 retweets, which is, the metric for Twitter. But a number of people went on a rampage about Granit Xhaka. One guy, whose name I will not call, but I think is a supporter out of North Carolina, said, our biggest enemy is not the refs, it's Xhaka. George, he got 383 likes. From my math, that's 5 times more than you. And he got 47 more retweets. This is 3 times more than you. And I was, George, frankly amazed. Why is Granit Xhaka being made the scapegoat because Bernardo Silva toppled over and the refs awarded a penalty to Manchester City? That couldn't be it, George. And I can give you some more stats. Why would someone say that Granit Xhaka is the biggest enemy? You are my expert. Can you tell me why?
Well, first of all, it's because they're an absolute cunt.
That's not a pearl of wisdom.
That's the simple answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
The other thing is that Twitter, as a platform, encourages extreme behavior, extreme opinions. If he'd have said Granit Xhaka has a problem sometimes with his decision making and his slow feet in defensive areas, he'd have got no retweets and
no likes.
And that would have been the truth that he had spoken. So telling the truth and being nuanced gets you nothing on Twitter. Much more, it's much better for them to take an extreme view. And that's it, because they're not interested in the reality. They're not interested in the truth. They're interested in gaining a following and getting likes and retweets. And that's just the platform that we're working with. It's a good platform. It's fun. But people in the middle, people without strong opinions, you never hardly hear from them. people who consider both sides, they're of no interest to anybody. They just want to see. I mean, you can look at it similarly. Look at Arsenal Fan TV.
Yes, that's a perfect example, George. I think
An absolute bunch of fucking morons. I mean, I defy anybody to give me the name of someone that appears regularly on that show that isn't an idiot.
Well,
just one name.
I can't call the name, but I will say this, George, just for to be balanced. They do a post game tactical analysis, but one of the guys that did it was a rabid anti-Wenger, and I'm like, it colors my perception, because if someone can have such a extreme bias, and then he's trying to do a balanced tactical analysis, but that's the one show that I sometimes tune into.
Right.
I mean, I've touched bases on.
Yeah.
By the
Okay.
way, George, I've touched bases.
You can't give me a name. Even the guy that you're using as the example is unknown to the extent that you can't give me his name.
Yes.
Because you don't know his name, because he's not one of the major players. Every one of the major players.
Oh yeah.
The last 5 years has been an absolute fuckwit, right? And they're the biggest platform going.
Point.
So stupidity attracts a following. And that's all they're interested in, a following. You see it in other forms of media. People like Piers Morgan.
Yes.
Gets TV shows, etc., because he says stupid fucking things. He's extreme, and that's the way of the world at the moment on social media. And
George, you have a point there, because we spoke about this for years. Football coverage has become increasingly tabloid, and all these guys that used to write for broadsheets, they moved to the tabloids, they read the Daily Mail. Then you know what I'm saying? The Telegraph hides its coverage. It's a broadsheet behind a paywall. So they're supposed to be well considered. So I can't even see that, by the way, because I'm not going to pay them to tell me bullshit, because their reporting used to be bullshit. But you're right. Let's go back to AF TV, and I hate calling them, because I'm not here to beat up on any brand. Everybody wants to make a living, apparently. But all of those guys had extreme views against Wenger, and he was the scapegoat. And all of them now have massive followings. It's not just Robbie. The whole group of them, George.
Yeah,
Go ahead, George. The names that I can recall, which I did say I don't really listen to their shows, but those names are the most rabid extremists on Twitter, flying banners, A4s, and the whole like. And people are flocking to them in the hundreds of thousands. Go ahead, George.
That's right. And with no football knowledge at all between them. Because it doesn't pay them. I don't mean just financially. The reward, even if it's not a financial reward, is a big following. You see accounts now, like, is it LT Arsenal and now Arsenal, who actually say nothing. They've not once at any point given us something that you think, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting opinion. No. All it is regurgitating. They scour through news now, look for an article and a bit of news and repeat it, right? And
as
then
an exclusive.
Yeah, and then they'll say appreciation tweet for Emile Smith Rowe, and it'll get like 10,000 likes and retweets. When what is it? It's a picture of Emile Smith Rowe, right? But while people are buying into that, while idiots are retweeting it, liking it, following them, hundreds of thousands of followers for accounts that contribute nothing, well, that'll just encourage this sort of behavior over and over and over and over again. And that's all you'll see. You see, I've followed people on Twitter for years that make sense, that bring out points that you think, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. And they've got about 200 followers. These are smart people, and they've achieved nothing Twitter-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at somebody that hasn't contributed anything. All they do is regurgitate shite, and they've got 200,000 followers.
Oh, yeah.
Or they pretend to be an in-the-know guy, talk about transfers.
Oh, yeah.
Make up transfer stories. Everybody knows they're making up transfer stories, but they're still followed and retweeted.
Right.
If it's madness, but it's a madness that we just have to accept exists, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the Granit Xhaka and Mesut Ozil was the same. I mean,
yes,
Mesut Ozil, whether you thought he was on the decline or not, at one point was one of the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
In the world. And there was people saying he was crap. He was a fraud. He contributed nothing. He was holding us back. And they would get hundreds of thousands of tweets, retweets. I mean, and it's just absolute madness. How can you even contemplate following someone like that? But they do. Even if you're just following them to see the stupidity, that's a reward to them. Do you know what I mean?
George, I think I've commented on this.
To Arsenal TV,
yes,
just to laugh at them because they're fucking idiots. That's a reward. That's a reward to them, and that's all they want. If they're following for stupidity, then they'll be stupid.
Well, our reward for saying this is that we will be struggling at 100 views or so for a while, because this is not, in other words, people don't like us saying this. Because, George, I want to go back to Granit Xhaka, and I want to, for those people who listen to us on a regular basis, we want to add something. At least I want to add something to the debate. George, the thing that astounded me, and you made the point before, but you probably haven't seen the stats. Do you know for the period that Granit Xhaka was out since the Spurs game? For the EPL, I only deal with the EPL statistics. He played 9 matches, 4 wins, George, 3 losses, 2 draws, 13 goals for and 12 goals against. You remember our goal difference wouldn't change, right? Since he's been back, and Arteta has rarely subbed him. It was the second game he took him off at the 80th minute. You recall that? Hasn't subbed him at all. The results have turned almost 180 degrees. 5 matches, 4-1, 4-1, 1 loss, no draws, an amazing 15 goals scored, George, and 2 against. We are scoring more goals. We are defending better. Okay. The data set may be small, but George, you can't, and correlation may not be causation. We know all that they're going to say. But come on, George. That has been an amazing turnaround. Have you detected anything, George? And let's be factual here. Let's not even go on extreme. Why it is that we've been playing better since Granit Xhaka returned?
Because he's just so much better than all the rest. It contributes to the team play.
Yes.
The team play better around him. They're more solid. They have more control. Even against Manchester City, I think he had 94% pass rate succession.
Right.
Now, and this is someone who's supposed to not be able to cope with the press.
Yes, I remember that bullshit.
So I'm assuming Manchester City are a pressing team from that stat. That he got higher pass percentage than not only our players, the Manchester City players, who are technically outstanding. And what do you hear? Oh, he made the mistake. It cost us 3 points. Why? Because Silva dived.
Yes.
It's madness. But what can you say? If someone is prepared to believe that, the chances of you convincing them otherwise are nil. Absolutely nil. If they're prepared to be that stupid, what can you say? What can you do? How can you convince someone? You know, you watch the team play with him in it. It's a completely different team.
Right.
You've seen a PR campaign, basically, from the club recently, involving the pet journalists and everybody else, promoting the value of Granit Xhaka to the team.
Yes.
Right? I think they're trying to prepare the way to make him captain again.
But
I really do. They might not do that now simply because of this last made-up controversy of him.
Yes. You know,
but I think that was their intention. And Arteta, it's the only thing that they're not trusting Arteta on. He's God now, apart from the fact that he loves Granit Xhaka and he makes him absolutely integral to the team play.
Undroppable.
Undroppable. Well, he is undroppable. There isn't a player that comes anywhere close to being as important to the team as him. So it was the same with Arteta himself. I remember that. There's never a point where Arteta was our best player. Never, ever.
Yes.
But it was 2 years where he was absolutely our most important player. And that's your Granit Xhaka. You know, he's not the most skillful. He has weaknesses, as every fucking single player in the world has.
Mm-hmm.
He can have slow feet. He can be rash going into a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said earlier, he's involved in more, trying to put more fires out. He has the ball more. He passes the ball. He has more touches. He commands the team. The team revolve around him. The team look to him to put fires out. He covers for the mistakes of others. I mean, just the matter of the penalty against Manchester City. He was only in that position because Kieran Tierney and Gabriel weren't.
Yes.
They're was in the left back position, covering.
They were otherwise occupied, yes.
They were out of position.
Yes.
And he gets blamed. And it's as if we've had 11 red cards. That means 9 of them aren't Granit Xhaka. But he is the one that gets the blame for our red cards.
No, he gets the blame for Gabriel's red card, George. He gets the blame.
9.
Yes. He gets the blame for Gabriel's red card because Gabriel is the flavor of the month. Our coach, our scout, I'm sorry, our agent.
Sorry for being there, guys.
George. I don't know if you realize that he's looking sleepy. Ehab, you should come on, Ehab. The sun rose hours ago in your part of the world.
It is actually 1:30 p.m. right now.
What time is it?
1:30 p.m.
I know that. I scheduled this for you to be wide awake.
Yeah, I'm actually awake. I was just talking to people on the phone. This takes a lot of time when I'm away. It's just conversation, and I do look sleepy, but I'm not sleepy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, people should know that you do have a business to run, and you're kind of partially on vacation. But we won't get into that. We're talking about Granit Xhaka, Ehab.
Yeah.
And you missed this, but I reeled off the results. The results, the team's results when Granit Xhaka was out after Spurs, and then when he came back in the second match in December. We played 9 matches when he was out, only won 4. I'm going to tell you the goals forward 13, 4, and 11 against. And since he came back in December, the second match in December, 5 played, 4 wins, 15 goals for, and 2 goals against. And George was just here, George, when you came in, George was telling you what he contributes to the team. So being my scout, our scout, what it is that Granit Xhaka added to this team, and yes, the data is a small set, as you know,
Yeah.
But for me, you cannot ignore it. What it is that he added and what that was missing when he was out. Your lighting on is horrible too, Ehab, and your communication looks horrible. But go ahead. We're not here.
Yeah, let me try to figure out. Is it better now? Can you guys hear me?
Well, we can barely see a ghost coming
Can
from.
you hear me?
Yes. Keep on speaking,
Yeah,
Ehab,
it's
because
better now.
most of our people are listening to you. They're not really watching you. Keep going.
Yeah, that's much better actually. That's better for them. To be anyway, Chaka is very. People don't realize how important he is. The most important thing, especially in the system that somebody like Pep created, where position is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is very important because you have to regain position. You have to set a base, which is the lowest point where, like, if I lose the ball, I have to get it as soon as possible. And you draw a line, like usually they use the midfield line. Okay, if I can regain the ball by the midfield line, then I'm doing well. I can keep the position, I can keep the pressure, I can keep all those kind of things. But to do that, you need what I call it a base. I've always called it a base, which is two center midfielders that can regain the ball and start the attack the right way. They can contribute. They can distribute the ball. They can run with the ball themselves. They can do all these kind of things, and Chaka does that. Uh, the system has to be built on the base around him. It was supposed to be built around him and Party, but Party is still coming into his own. I don't know if he's ever gonna do that. you, if you decide that you are going to regain the ball in midfield, then you are going to regain the ball in midfield. And once you get better at it, you bring your base forward. These two players now will stand at the edge of the midfield circle. Then they will stand at the final third line. And this means if I lose the ball, I'm gonna get it back easily. And this is actually something that people don't understand that Jurgen Klopp is suffering with. He's suffering with Fabinho. He
You're right.
always because Fabinho, when he advanced Fabinho, it left so much space in behind. So now Fabinho on defense is usually behind the midfield line, which is not where Klopp wants him to be.
Where does
But
he want him to be?
he wants him to be on the other, like at the end of the midfield circle, at the edge of the midfield circle, because this is where he wants to gain the ball. We see it with Fernandinho, and Fernandinho has developed something. When he cannot get the ball, he fouls. And uh, and this means that the other team, first of all, the other team will not be able to develop anything on the counter. This is number one. Number two is that the other team is going to be constantly under pressure. They will not be able to get the outlet out because you're pressuring them. They are looking for somebody to get the outlet out, and you will have the base of your midfield preventing this. If your press doesn't work, if it fails, then the base of your midfield, these two, will prevent this from happening. And this is the press that they do. They talk about this gegenpress. Gegenpress is a Gegen is one of the assistants of Buckingham, who was at Ajax before Rinus Michels. And he's the one who started total football. He's the one who started the basis of total football, an Englishman of all people. And he had an assistant called Gegen, and this guy stayed with Rinus Michels, and they created this swarming press. But the problem is, when you had good passers at the back, you would get a long pass that would expose the defense.
Yes.
And this is when the two midfielders came in. The two good midfielders came in. The base of the midfield came in, and this is what Xhaka does. He doesn't allow us to get exposed. If you review any play, like take a play from any game you want, it's usually Xhaka distributing, We get the ball intercepted. He will be standing in the final third. We get the ball intercepted. They give it to the winger. The winger cannot pass in the middle because Granit Xhaka has recovered. And
Mhm.
then when somebody helps Granit Xhaka would go and help on the winger. He would help the fullback. Then this is why he got the penalty. This is what he was doing. If we allowed in the City game, if we allowed Kieran Tierney to bomb forward and allowed Mahrez to be behind Kieran Tierney all the time, and they played long balls to Mahrez, it's over. If Kieran Tierney is coming at Mahrez at full speed, no way Mahrez is not getting by him. He has to be there when Mahrez gets the ball. And this is what we did all game, and this is how we kept him quiet. He has to be there. He has to keep his position. Tierney is strong enough and quick enough. But if you are trying to catch up to Mahrez, he's one of the most skillful players in the game. He's gonna wrap around you and just make you look stupid. And that's
Right.
why
And he got
that's what he's doing. This is what Xhaka's doing. He's covering for those kind of people.
and he scored a penalty, by the way, Mahrez, but he got a couple of shots off and was
Nothing,
created
nothing,
some
nothing to,
problems when he was
nothing
one on one.
to
But he really never got going. But Ehab, you missed the initial point. Why do George says it's because the fan base is stupid and prone to extreme?
that's
Why? And he's not
that
gonna
can
gain
be
us
used
any
for anything
followers.
actually.
He's not gonna gain
That's
us any
amazing.
followers at this rate. But why do our fans miss this? And I'm not gonna say this. The question is, why is it? The Arsenal fan base loves scapegoats.
Yeah, actually,
Ozil
they,
was a
they don't miss
scapegoat.
it. They're
Wenger
not.
was a scapegoat.
Yeah, of course.
Mustafi was a scapegoat. But why is Granit Xhaka, despite his obvious value to the team, and I gave you the stats when he was out and when he was, why do we have a guy saying he's the enemy of Arsenal?
Yeah, because they're not
Why is
looking.
this so popular on Twitter at least?
Yeah, people miss it because people are not looking for it. People come in with with prepared agendas that this guy is slow, he's not turning well, he's a he's a he's a Wenger signing, and people want to move from Wenger, so this is so he's already predisposed to be hated. And then comes the fact that most of the people, we are old people who are on Twitter are like between 12 and 25 maximum. So these are people who play PlayStation and video games, and nobody on PlayStation goes and picks Chaka to be on his team. So yeah, he's not the best on that team, so he's not popular that way.
Yes.
That's why it's amazing. Like Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona,
Yes.
he's like the most important player in history for people under 25.
Yes.
And yeah, and I was watching his stats the other day. I think in 3 years he scored 25 goals, which is like two more than Alex Ayobi. And
Jesus.
like with 4 years or something like this, 20 goals, 25 goals, which is useless. In 5 years he scored 25 goals, 5 goals a season, which is pretty much Alex Ayobi, Jack Wilshere numbers, who are in the middle of the park. And you look at them, and people are just impressed because they go online and they are amazing players online. They are amazing video game players, and Chaka is not the politically correct bullshit kind of guy.
Right.
He told the fans to fuck off. He will say whatever he has to say. He what comes to mind. He's not going to shy off, or he's not going to keep something to himself, which I like because it's the way it should be.
His colleagues like him. By the way, guys, I want to, we are gone, not turning on this for 30 minutes. I want to share, again, I say I want to give some value here. And I shared this with you guys yesterday. I went to, what's the Arbino, Squawker. Squawker has this comparison matrix. So I decided to compare Xhaka with Fernandinho. George, my favorite joke, if it was Xhakadinho, he would be on these FIFA and fantasy games. And George, they have played about the same minutes. Okay, 800. Xhaka's played 800 minutes. Fernandinho has played 544 because he was injured for a while. And George, in almost all the categories, Xhaka is superior per 90 minutes than Fernandinho. You know, George, nobody says this. Nobody emphasizes what. Come, George, are you? I share the stats with you. Are you surprised in any way? That's a question. Are you surprised in any way?
Can I make a note before George starts? Fernandinho has played more games than Xhaka, but 200 less minutes. So Fernandinho was a lot of times subbed in and out.
Yes.
Xhaka plays full 90. This is the thing. It's not the injury. Just go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, George.
I forgot what the question was.
Are you surprised that Xhaka's numbers are
no, Fernandinho? I'm not surprised at all, because I read on Twitter, and it always makes me laugh, that he passes backwards and sideways. And then you'll see the stats, and he's the most progressive passer in the league. Not in our team, in the league. The most progressive passer of the ball. Yet they'll tell you that he plays safe passes and they're always backwards and sideways. So that's the level of stupidity that you're dealing with. The only people, I think there's two people progress the ball more than him, and that was the Bruno at Manchester United and
Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne. But included in the progression for them was running with the ball, which they do more than Xhaka.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody passes the ball forward more than Xhaka, not even them.
Mm-hmm.
He progresses the ball more passing than they do. And yet, if people can see those statistics, those facts, and deny them and say he plays backwards, what can you do? What argument can you put forward other than proving by facts and statistics? And if they don't accept them because they come up with something, stats don't tell you everything. No, these particular stats do tell you everything. These particular stats can't be misinterpreted. This is ball progression. This is passing the ball forward. There's no room for interpretation here. He leads the fucking way. Now, he doesn't necessarily lead the way this season because we're playing in a different way, and we're progressing the ball more through the central defenders and the fullbacks. But generally, for the last 4 or 5 years, he's progressed the ball more than anybody else. And if people are prepared to ignore that fact, you have no argument against them. There's nothing you can say to convince them otherwise. You know, there's the stats. I don't accept them. Well, these are facts. I don't accept facts. Where do you go from there? Where do you go? I'll tell you where you go. You go to reading fucking stupid tweets from absolute fuckwits that say Granit Xhaka is the worst midfield player that we've had in the history of the club. You know,
George.
And then that'll get fucking 100 likes and 300 fucking retweets.
But George, and I'm going to go, but George and Ehab, you have ex-players, ex-pros saying them. I'm not even talking about AFTV who feast on this because it gets them clicks. You have ex-players, ex-pros saying the same bullshit, which is why, you know, I'm like, am I living in a parallel universe? You know, Ehab, George is right, you know.
Yeah.
We could say this till the cows come home, and they refuse to recognize this. I mean, Xhaka has 1/3 more minutes than Fernandinho, and he has double the amount of passes almost. You know, that is even basic statistics. You don't even have to go to a statistical course. Come on. Duels won, aerials won, ground duels lost. Go do it on Squawker. Go do the comparison matrix. He exceeds him. Now, yet George says, and George is right.
Not even the numbers. If you look at the game itself,
go ahead.
This is what shocks me. I mean, First of all, when Xhaka was wanted to come to Arsenal, we were in a bidding war with Bayern Munich. This is number one, and it's actually it's not even news. You can go to Google their Otmar Hitzfeld, their ex-manager, and somebody who's involved with the board was on TV, and he said, "I think Bayern Munich is going to seal the deal for Xhaka. They have had a bid for him, blah blah blah."
Mhm.
And then when Arteta came, he said we were looking at Xhaka for Manchester City.
Mhm.
And the thing is, if he's not good enough, why would and then Jose Mourinho goes to Roma, and this is the first player he wants to sign. And I mean, look at the people who wanted to sign Xhaka, and then ex players who go online. Yeah, I mean, if ex players were good, they would be managers, not pundits.
Exactly.
I mean, just because you play the game well, it doesn't mean you understand it. Patrick Vieira had to learn this the hard way. He was always criticizing Wenger when he was on TV. Then he goes in and to the American League, to the
New
National
York,
Soccer League,
yeah, New York
MLS,
Red Bulls. Mhm.
and in 6 months they ask him about Wenger, and he says, "Oh, he's an amazing manager," because he tried what kind of bullshit, how different it is from being a pundit to being a manager. Look at Gary Neville. He
Yes.
had the worst player in Valencia's history. Got kicked.
Did he win a game? Did he win a game?
I don't think he won a game. He lost
I
six
don't
0
think
to
he ever did.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
I don't think so. In 6 months, he got fired, and he
Mhm.
can't find a job anymore. And this is it. You listen to
But he's
people.
England's top pundit, Ehab.
Yeah,
England top pundit.
yeah, England. Yeah, this is it. I think there was even Alan Shearer. He relegated Newcastle. He did nothing with them. I mean, just because you're a great player doesn't mean you understand the game 100%. You understand your role. You have the talent. You have the passion. You have the ability. But it does not mean you understand the game 100%. If you, there's a small example when Wenger came, he took Henri and he made him a striker. And Thierry Henry's reaction was, "Me, striker?" Like he didn't even knew he could do it. Yaya Toure, when we signed him and he couldn't come because of the work permit, Wenger told him, "I want to make you a striker." And he laughed at it. He laughed
Yes.
at it.
Yes.
Then maybe 6 years later, he said, maybe Wenger was right. He went out and he said when he started scoring from midfield, and they interviewed him and said, you're the highest scoring midfielder in the league. And he said, well, Wenger told me that he wanted to make me striker because of my size and ability to finish, but I didn't buy into it. But now I think he was right. And that's why he's a great player, playing the game, and he does not understand his own capability. How do you expect him to run a team or be right about somebody else? So
Yes.
that's why this is it. They don't get it. And as I said, as George said, uh, so many teams want him. The stats are top. Arteta wanted him
City.
at City, and he renewed him at Arsenal,
Yes.
and he stopped Mourinho from buying him at Roma. He got injured. He brought him back earlier from injury. He rushed him back and played him 90 minutes every game. They trust Arteta on everything. Trust the process. Trust the process. Arteta out shouldn't be fans. And then you come to them and they say, okay, but he renewed Shaka. No, Shaka is shit. Why don't you trust Arteta on this? This is the most player that Arteta has backed. He hasn't backed any player more than Chaka.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. George, I'm going to give you the final word. George, we have now people scoring his transfer window time. I mean, you mentioned it in the very first start because they know they'll get clicks, likes, people surrounding them like bees surround honey for rumors that will not come to pass. But, we need a Granit Xhaka successor. But George, if there's, and I want you commented on it, if there's any one decision that Mikel Arteta made that is correct, is his decision that he's not allowing Granit Xhaka to leave Arsenal. Your thoughts on this as we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to see it play out because we're going to sign a midfielder. That's for sure. Whether we sign one in January or whether it's next June or July, we're going to sign a midfielder. And if people think that it's to replace Xhaka, they're going to be sadly disappointed.
Yeah.
It'll be to replace anybody bar Xhaka. It'll be Xhaka and whoever comes in.
Well,
And
Partey and Lokonga look so good without
get
it.
an upgrade. They're not going to get an upgrade on Granit Xhaka. This club is not in a position to buy a better player than Granit Xhaka for midfield.
You won't get any likes. You won't get any live retweets for all of that, George. But that we will see that in the future. Fans, you have shared stats with you. You can go online and see them yourselves. That's what we do here with George and Ehab is to add an extra dimension to this debate. I can't. It amazes me so much. Trash, so much excess, so much extremes on Twitter. But hopefully you enjoy this. We have a big international break. Well, not no COVID break, international break. We don't play again until sometime. I think we're gonna when the next game is against Liverpool, the postponed game. Isn't that correct, guys? The EFL game that's postponed.
Yeah, Liverpool.
The Carabao Cup game that's postponed.
No, the FA Cup, isn't it?
No, yes, against not Nottingham Forest. Sometime next week. I think that's the next game. Yeah, next week Saturday. Oh, it's a Saturday, yes. Right. I'm thinking that we may get the group in. We might even go over this subject again. But fans, we like your comments. We had a nice little spike in viewership last time around. Nice. I suppose you all love Clint Eastwood Westward, the iconography, the meme. But please like and subscribe. Give us your feedback. George didn't help us when he called all these people idiots and lunatics. But millions of your people are clinging on to people who have been wrong eternally. But I don't know. That's something in human nature. So those who think that what we're saying is important, please like and subscribe. We really need that. Guys, thank you very much. Until we get together again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.